Hello there! For today's video, I am doing a book review of Shana Vernon's The Assassin's Daughter. Now, I've only seen her name on Facebook and Twitter, so I don't exactly know how to say her name. I hope I said it right, but there's only so much you can do for, reading it instead of hearing it. Now, I've already written a review on my blog, audreywilson.com. I have also written a review on Amazon.com. So there's a link in the description to the blog and to the Amazon page. Definitely check it out. If you're a fan of urban fantasy, this is probably a book for you. If you want a more detailed review, please go to audreywilson.com. I do have I have a point system on there where I determine how I like the characters of the story, structure of the story, and the plot itself out of 10 on each of those, and then the whole thing out of 30. Check out that for the points that I give it. Today's video is about why I like the story and why I like everything in the book, and about why I'm excited for the next one, which I believe is supposed to be called The Assassin's Revenge. So I'm really excited to read that when it comes out. So without further ado, let's talk about Shana Vernon. So without further ado, let's talk about Shana Vernon. Shana Vernon grew up in Baltimore, Maryland, and she's a full-time writer. And honestly, that has to be very difficult considering she is raising triplets. Oh my gosh. I first came in contact with Shana on Twitter, and she suggested that I sign up to be an ARC reviewer for her. Now, an ARC reviewer is someone who gets a copy of the book in advance. You volunteer for this, and you get a copy with the promise that you will read a review. I decided to do a review of this on my blog, on Amazon, and here on YouTube. Okay, so now that I've talked about all of that, let's get into the actual review. First, I'm going to talk about the world. I was super excited about this part, and actually, I don't think this was intentional, but it kind of gave me Underworld vibes. Not because it had anything to do with Underworld. In fact, vampires and humans have apparently been integrated for a very long time. There are no werewolves to be seen at this point. I'm just going to say that right now. There's probably not going to be werewolves, and I'm okay with that. I'm definitely okay with that. Sometimes it's good to just have a vampire book. I kind of just got those vibes because just of the world itself just felt somewhat old and yet modern at the same time. It takes place in an undisclosed era, which I absolutely appreciate because it gives the reader the ability to kind of build the world as you go. You get to experience the world as the narrator continues to speak to you. And this is written in first person, so it kind of does give you that feel that you're already in this world, you're in this world's head. And I felt like that was the right way to go, as opposed to third person. It gives you more of a, I'm in this person's head, I know what this person knows. Even though you're new to her persona, the way it's written, the way it's spoken, you get a feeling for this character and who she is and why she's in the situation she's in. It's absolutely crazy and fun, and also pretty dark too. I mean, you are dealing with assassins after all. It does give you kind of a schoolish vibe as well because, and unlike some other books that take place in sort of a school or class situation, nothing that's in the classrooms doesn't come back to be part of the plot. Everything is integrated and necessary to the plot. There's no side detours or unnecessary characters or unnecessary anything in this book. It is all very integrated and together and full. Even though it is kind of short, I felt completely integrated. It really gets you in there with the persona, with the classes, with everything going through her head. It's all together. It's set in Boston, and that's a very well-known city. We don't really see much of the city all that much. You see bits and pieces that probably might be there, could be there, or maybe they're not there because vampires don't exist. But the fact that it takes place in a non-disclosed era really it makes it feel like it could be now. It could be in the future. It could have been 20 years ago. Probably not 20 years ago based on some of the technology, but whatever. Now let's move on to the characters. I'm really only going to be talking about the main character right here. I believe her name is Lena or Lena. One of the two, because, again, different when you're reading it. I'm going to go with Lena because that's how I read it. And until someone tells me otherwise, I'm going to call her Lena. Now, outside of Lena, all the characters do have a place. There is no character that is not there for a reason. And some characters you only see a little bit, but I feel like you spend enough time with the characters to really be satisfied with where they are. And I can't wait to see more of some of these characters. They're going to be really interesting later on. I actually appreciate that the main character, Lena, is not just dropped into a world that she knows nothing about. It's not like she had no knowledge of assassins before this, that she had no knowledge of vampires before this. She actually knows quite a bit about both. It's kind of hard to read a character that is completely new to everything and then gets everything within a short period of time. My copy of the book was only about 167 pages, and even though that is a little short for a book that I normally read, again, I fully felt like everything was there for a reason, and the shortness of the book actually plays well into the urgency of the character Lena. She has lost her father and is trying to find her father. She's trying to rescue him. But just because she starts off with a lot of knowledge about the world she's in doesn't mean that she doesn't learn anything. She actually does learn a lot, and the things that she might have already known before are brought up again so that the reader can follow along. And honestly, I feel like that's pretty brilliant. In some respects, I think in certain parts of the book, I remember her saying something along the lines of, oh, I remembered reading this or doing this, or, things that were in her past that came up again. So it was very good to learn it while also the character herself being reminded of these things. And also everything she learns or is reminded of is relevant. Everything is relevant to the story, and I really appreciate that. As a writer, I know how easy it is to go off on a tangent. I do it all the time, and I try to edit that stuff out as much as possible when it's not relevant to what I'm trying to say. So the fact that everything in the book really was cohesive and went together and relevant, I absolutely appreciate that, and I understand how hard that is to do. There were a couple moments when I was reading that I thought that we would enter into a few of my dreaded tropes, and I was pleasantly surprised that they didn't go exactly the way I thought they would. And that's something I really appreciate. I won't go into which tropes those are because those would kind of be spoilers. These dreaded tropes that I'm talking about will be discussed in another video. Probably not this month, maybe next month or the month after. I'm not sure yet. Okay, so now let's really get into the vampires, which is kind of where a lot of this starts. It's where the world kind of starts, and I'm so happy about the way that they were portrayed. about vampires in the next one. Alright, let's get into the vampires themselves. Now, I'm gonna say this right now. I love these kinds of vampires, and I'll tell you why in a minute. First, you need to know that there is only really one vampire that we get to know, and we get to know him at the very beginning. The main thing you need to know is that even though this is set in a world where vampires and humans are integrated, the vampires don't really play that big of a part to where they are the central issue of the story. They're not. They are kind of background piece that is important to the plot line, but not so much that it takes away from the major plot line, which is rescuing Lena's father. And I do appreciate this because, I can get a little annoyed with vampires sometimes, depending on how they're portrayed, what they're doing, and how human they are. Now, in this story, they can get as normal as you possibly can, and this I actually do appreciate. They still prefer being out at night, but they can be out during the day. And honestly, I have a feeling that this is the kind of vampire that the reason they like to be out at night is because that's how they evolved. I think there's more of a scientific way about it. Because, let's face it, they come in at night, easier to feed on unsuspecting victims, and then they go fade back into the night, and they go to bed during the day, and do it all over again the very next night. Now, the reason I like this, it's very unique. I do enjoy the bestial vampires like Dracula. I think that they're very interesting that way as well. But I do really enjoy the fact that in this book, they are pretty normal. They're just like humans, just a little bit different. Maybe a little faster, but the reason they're that way is because, for a very long time, they were secretive and had to be secretive to survive. And before anybody says anything about Twilight, no, they do not sparkle, and I am so glad. Besides, I think these vampires are way cooler than Twilight, because they are normal. They have normal feelings and they're just normal. They're normal people. That's all I gotta say about that. They're normal people. But I do believe that there's more of a scientific way about them, how they just kind of evolved into being nocturnal as opposed to they burn and... Anyway, it's not really stated outright anything beyond the fact that they just exist and can be out during the day if they want to. And I appreciate that. It gives the reader a chance to just, like I said, build as we go. And maybe it'll come up in later books, maybe it won't. I honestly don't care whether it does or not, because I can fill in the blanks as I go. Overall, I really enjoyed The Assassin's Daughter. It was very interesting, very fun, just the right amount of dark. And even though it was shorter than most of the books that I normally read, I really appreciated that. It gave me so much to think about and so much to get inspired by. I hope that other people get inspired by it too and write unique versions of, let's say, like werewolves or things that we know so well and just get another take on them. I'd love to see that. The Assassin's Daughter was just what I needed to read, and it really got me excited, and I actually can't wait for the next Shana Vernon book. I'm super excited. I'm totally looking out for more of her books and any short stories, and honestly anything she puts out, I'm going to probably try to get a hold of it and read it. So I'm excited to see more from Shana Vernon, and I hope you really enjoy her writing too, because I love the style. I love her style of writing, and it's great. I love it. Anyway, thanks for watching today. You can purchase The Assassin's Daughter on Amazon.com, link in the description below. Be sure to check out Shana Vernon on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. and also her website, linked in the description. Also, you can check out my review on my blog, audreybwilson.com. You can also read my poetry and short stories, news about my work in progress, and please, please, please sign up for beta reading for Unveiling the Facade, link in the description below. You can also sign up for my monthly newsletter. I send those the first week of the month. Anyway, until next time.